So West Kennett Long Barrow. This has occupied many years of my life, and I've got an hour to squash into something I could talk about all day, really. So I developed in recent years not just an Earth Mysteries, but also a spiritual connection with West Kennett Long Barrow. And when I was told from wherever that my lot was to do the definitive guide about it, I wanted to do a really thorough guide. So originally we thought it would be a 50-page booklet, you know, and 233 pages later, because I wanted to make it, because West Kennett Long Barrow has always been part of the community, so I sent out to the wider community via the internet and friends, and I had psychics along and dowsers along to give other people's input. So it's very much a community book, really, where, you know, a lot of the book isn't my own discoveries. But saying that, we spent a lot of time up at West Kennett, and especially the astronomy and the earth energies and dowsing, and this is just listing all the sections that we have. So hopefully there's something in it for everybody. Because I'm of the belief that you can't just study any sacred site and just look at one aspect, because they are all multifaceted, multi-experiential. So you've got to look at it, I suppose, holistically, and any site, and West Kennett is a good example of that. So how many people have been to West Kennett? How many people haven't? Oh, shame on you. Go and stand at the back immediately, or you can get a ticket for the tour if they're still available. Okay. It's the, as Aubrey Burrell says, and he should know, the finest megalithic tomb in England and Wales. But very often it became evident that it was always more than a burial site. It was never just a burial site. To say West Kennett and other chambered tombs are just for burials is like saying that churches are just for weddings. So you look at all the other things that go on at churches and mosques and synagogues. They're a centre of the whole community. And I would suggest that West Kennett Long Barrow was a spiritual centre for some Neolithic clans right through the Neolithic thousands of years ago. West Kennett Long Barrow was certainly designed to impress. It's almost the longest long barrow in the whole of England, whole of Britain, just pipped by 4 metres by East Kennett Long Barrow, and this originally would have been pure white chalk. How it would have shined on the landscape, reflecting the sunlight, but reflecting the moonlight of a night. So West Kennett Long Barrow was no shrinking violet. It was designed to impress. So for people who haven't been there, or even if you have, this is West Kennett's Long Barrow, how it's sited in the greater landscape. Here's Avebury, which we're going to visit this week on the tour, the largest stone circle in the world. And we have Silbury Hill, of course, Britain's pyramid, the tallest prehistoric mound ever built, although, you know, we have the Bosnian ones in contention now for that. But, and there's lots of other sites around, because I soon found out that West Kennett is part of a greater landscape. And this is something at the fore of Earth Mysteries at the moment. So you've got East Kennett Long Barrow, the Sanctuary, Silbury, Silbaby, lots of other sites. So we looked at West Kennett Long Barrow in the context of the whole landscape, because it isn't actually sitting on the landscape, it's actually held within it, if you know what I mean. It's part of the landscape in a very intricate and precise way. So I also wanted to look at how prehistoric mounds had been looked at by our predecessors. And there's lots of folklore. These mounds have a lot of tales to do with dragons, giants, fairies. I love this one, the little fairies. There's the door into the mound, how cute. The obligatory magic mushroom there. And here's the hag, the crone in her barrow as well. So there's an awful lot of folklore associated with these mysterious mounds. I also wanted to look into great detail about who these people were. Who were the people who built Stonehenge, Avebury and West Kennett Long Barrow? And in a nutshell, there were people like you and I, people who had the same concerns about whether their newborn would survive, where the food was coming from, where our territory is being threatened, and they're not so dissimilar from today. And as you'll realise this weekend, our Neolithic ancestors were very, very well skilled, more than conventional archaeology has led us to believe. Any archaeologists in the room? Oh, good. Right, we can go to town then. Now, actually, my book contains more quotes from archaeologists than any of my previous books, because I'm actually finding that archaeologists are gradually backing up what we've been saying for years. So it's getting there gradually. So the Neolithic was revolutionary, farming replacing the hunter-gatherer lifestyle with widespread deforestation. And at the time, we were supposed to have had the perfect climate, what climatologists call. The summers were a few degrees warmer than today, and the winters were also milder. So it was perfect to coincide with the introduction of farming. And it also led to a new physical and spiritual relationship with the landscape that the clans increasingly depended on, because you're not wandering around the land now following the herds. You're in one place, and so therefore you're developing more, I think, of a spiritual relationship with that particular landscape rather than the landscape in general. Long barrows were clan icons. That's actually a quote from an archaeological book. How cool is that? And staking a claim on the land and its resources. So when people come along, interlopers or travellers to the area, the clans around West Kennett can look up at the ridge and say, those are our ancestors up there on the hill, not yours. So it gives the clan a sense of belonging, if you like, in the greater landscape. And I've gone a bit mad on Photoshop in this book. I had great fun, because I like to bring things to life, you know. I like to, you know, what was going on. And this is just a little family unit, perhaps celebrating some sort of anniversary. Newborn baby there, the stars out, and the white mound there, and the deep black interior of West Kennett, which I think most people actually wouldn't have gone into. The interior of West Kennett was the realm of the ancestors, but also the realm of the shaman. So long barrows, there's just a few facts and figures there. Lord knows there's lots in the book, but I don't like putting big lists on slideshows. But sometimes pre-barrow activity was present. I think that's an important one because several of these have been excavated, and even West Kennett Long Barrow, Piggott found evidence of Mesolithic activity underneath. So it could be that when they gave up their hunter-gatherer lifestyle, they were perhaps returning to sites they'd already visited and were held special to them when they were passing through areas in the Mesolithic, which I thought was interesting. And a higher than average percentage of chambered long barrows occur in Avebury than anywhere else. Usually elsewhere in the country, the majority of long barrows are earthen. So a lot of stones around the Avebury area, and they made use of them. So West Kennett Long Barrow belongs to a spectacular group called the Cotswold Seven Group, all characterised by chambers, Wayland Smithy, Bella Snap, West Kennett. And one of the key things is that they had continued access to the inside. So you weren't just putting Auntie Flo or whoever in there and then sealing her up, and that was it, like what happened in the later Bronze Age tumuli. There's continuous access, which is for two purposes, I think. One is to put more people in there, of course, later on, more internments, more cremations, but it's also to allow continuous access to the shaman. Before we go on as well, I don't want to upset any ladies present. When I talk about shaman, it could be male or female. Okay, let's get that straight. So I certainly did a lot of time walking around the landscape, inspired by William Stukeley and later on by Paul Devereux, who went around the landscape looking at the sites from different directions, looking for sight lines, getting a feel to how the different sites fit within the greater landscape. This is a view from East Kennett Long Barrow. There's West Kennett up on the ridge there, and there's Silbury Hill coinciding with the distant skyline. And it was the intricate intervisibility of monuments that really struck me. And also, most of the hands went up. You know, when you walk up the big hill to West Kennett, I also noticed very soon in our perambulation around the landscape that this ridge, although we think it's quite a big ridge when you go up to it, actually lies below the distant skyline in every direction. In other words, all around West Kennett, you've got a ring of higher hills. And I'm not aware anybody had noticed that before. So actually West Kennett, although it's on a ridge, is actually sitting in a bowl. It's actually, I think, surrounded by the goddess landscape. So these are some of the sight lines we found. A couple of these have been noted by Devereux. Some of them are new to my study. And again, these aren't map lines, they are sight lines. Some of them are 3 miles long, this one here. Intricate positioning of sites of different ages. Some of these involve early Neolithic, late Neolithic, and even Bronze Age sites. But I have no problem with that, because people are using this area in a sacred context for many, many centuries. William Stukeley, of course, we've probably all seen his drawings. and he went there in the 18th century, and I've used to great effect, I think, some of his drawings. So they often show views we can't see now, and often show sites such as this one, which I go into, which aren't there.